Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm joined today by my good friend and colleague Mickey Berry with Farmers Insurance. Mickey, thank you so much, man.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Talked before we got on camera. I've got a buyer that called me a few weeks ago, lives in Florida, is very happy in Florida, but their costs are increasing as people have migrated there. And one thing she cited was her home insurance increasing. Have you seen that in Florida? I know we see it in California, but now we've got people calling us saying like, we love it here, but our home insurance is high, other costs, and they're wanting to move to Alabama. Have you heard that, and what are those conversations like?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the situation with homeowners insurance in most places is a little bit dire right now. We're going through a phase where there's so many things working against an insurance company who does homeowners insurance with weather, kind of unprecedented weather events, and also some states, California and Florida especially, have political reasons why a company may not want to do business there, or may want to raise prices that make it unreasonable for most people to be able to afford it. And so you have a situation in Florida where, sure, there's hurricane risk, there's lots of weather that can happen there, but companies have been doing business there for a century. So we could make the price and the coverage and such fits where most people could afford it. But we also right now have political constraints. So in California and Florida especially, not only do we have the weather, but we have politics that if we're not allowed to raise our price, or we're not allowed to limit coverage and just cover everything for everybody at no expense, no top, then it's really hard for a company to do business. And so our company, our main carrier, Farmers, has recently pulled out of Florida, but we were not the only ones. There's around 30 companies that no longer do business there because they just can't make a profit.
Yeah.
Not only can they not make a profit, but they are losing $3 or $4 for every dollar they bring in, and so it's bad.
Yeah. So what impact has migration had, like specifically on these two states? You've got rising costs that are just material costs for replacement. If your house gets blown away, it costs more money to replace it because the materials are costlier. Right. But also there's far more development happening in these regions, and so when natural disasters do happen, it's worse because there's more people there, there's more property there, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we just got back from 2 separate trips to the West Coast, and no matter what the price, there's always people that want to build on a hillside or want to build in the middle of a forest.
Yeah.
And so we have mudslides, we have hurricanes, tornadoes. In some places we have earthquakes. So there's overdevelopment because of these people. These places are just cool places to live.
No doubt,
and the jobs are there. Let's face it. You have a company like a tech company moves in, that's going to be 10, 20, 30,000 people. My son took us to where he works at Microsoft, and there's dozens and dozens of offices like that, but he said there's 160,000 employees.
Wow.
And not all in that office, obviously, but that people go where the jobs are, they go where it's beautiful to live, and somehow they try to make it affordable.
Yeah.
But right now we're in a little bit of a crisis with homeowners insurance, which helps. Sometimes Alabama has a low property tax. Alabama has a fairly affordable homeowners insurance rate usually, so that's an attraction for somebody in real estate.
Understood. So what are the costs that go into, like, when I'm paying my home insurance, what am I getting? And we've had a lot of reports of people recently that are skimping on their home insurance because they're getting pinched everywhere else. Why is it a terrible idea to forego your home insurance?
Right. So I just had somebody sit in that chair yesterday afternoon. He was 18. He was getting his first policy, and so I showed him the options on his car insurance, and he said, "So I understand there's no coverage and there's full coverage. How about half coverage?"
Right.
I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, could I just cover part, up to a certain amount?" And I said, "That's actually a pretty good idea for somebody
Just
to
an
develop
a
a
la
policy
carte
like
insurance.
that."
Yeah.
And I said, "But what we can do is we can do things like bundle policies together. It's not really just a marketing ploy by insurance companies. It really works a lot, often works to reduce your costs because you get cross discounts on different policies that you might add with the same company or the same group of companies." And then raising a deductible is the probably one of the best things. Is just sort of when you raise your deductible to, from 500 or 1,000 to 2,500, or which is actually our average deductible now, 2,500 to 5,000 or 2% or 3%. Well, you're self-insuring some of the loss that carrier might have to incur in paying that claim as well as administrating that claim. So that's an option, and a lot of companies are going with a mandatory percent deductible, either a 1% or 1.5% or 2%, depending on where their location is, where the home is located. So that's an option. Our company hasn't gone to that, but we actually offer that as an option. And so people that it's a good thing right now because a mortgage company, if somebody has a mortgage, they're going to require that consumer to have a policy and name that mortgage company as an additional insured or as a lien holder, a mortgagee on that policy. So because they're loaning money on that house as collateral, they're going to need something to back that up.
Right.
So, but a lot of people, especially at at older ages, maybe they've paid their mortgage off, or maybe they're in a position even when they're young not to have a mortgage, and they say, "Well, I want to live here. It's the coolest place ever, but I just can't afford all these extras like homeowners insurance." Well, it's probably not it's usually not a smart idea to forego that kind of insurance. It's just there's ways that you can tweak your insurance. Obviously, shop around to find the best deal, but there's also ways, including raising your deductible. If you have a high liability, if you have enough coverage, but you're self-insuring a little bit by using different techniques within the policy, we can help with that, and it's usually in Alabama. It's usually affordable.
Yeah.
I have a license in some other states as well. Right now, Georgia is going through a little bit more of a crisis than we are. So our prices are about half of what theirs are.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Goodness. Why is that?
They have government regulation of policies, and they're.
I'm seeing a common theme here.
Yeah. Some. This is just my opinion, but some state insurance directors or insurance commissioners are elected, and some are appointed. If I'm an appointed person, insurance commissioner, then I don't have to worry about being reelected. I can just do my job, and usually that for us has turned out to be the best outcome. The people that are elected have to make these campaign promises like, I'll never allow these terrible insurance companies to go up on your price or to limit any kind of coverage. Well, a company like a major company that has a big exposure in that state hears that and they go, oh crap,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound good. And so they have to start limiting our exposure there.
Mm-hmm. So specifically for Alabama, what are some common things that, like you buy a house, you get your home insurance. What are some things that people experience in that first 3 to 5 years, or if anything, like what do you see in here people are claiming on?
Right now in Alabama, obviously weather, wind coverage, and so we're in the Birmingham, Central Alabama area, but um, a tree on their house is a wind or weather related claims are probably our most frequent claim right now, and that's followed by things that have to do with water. Um, the the most the normal basic homeowners policy covers water if it is sudden and accidental to the home, meaning that a pipe burst, your washing machine hose breaks and floods your house, or a tree comes through your house, or wind blows part of your roof off and floods your living room. Those are kind of things that are normally covered by a homeowner's policy. And it's very common here, right? But we also have flood insurance, right? So flood is rising water, and that would be from rain rising and coming into your basement or into your home. That's normally not something that is covered by your homeowner's policy. You need a separate flood insurance policy.
Right. Supplement for flood insurance.
That's okay. Right. That's right. So wind, weather. We have every kind of possible exposure. A lot of people don't realize that when, let's say, you have roof damage where a tree hits your house or a tornado blows your roof off, and you had to move out to because you can no longer live there while your home's being repaired or rebuilt, then we pay for you to stay somewhere else, and somewhere usually that's relatively comparable to where you're staying and where you live. And so we pay for you to stay somewhere else. We pay incidental expenses like laundry and dry cleaning and meals out and groceries expenses, things like that, because things that would be above and beyond what you might have to do because of that storm.
Right.
And we pay can come to a pretty good bit of money, for an insurance company, but it's part of what your policy covers. And so if you take a look at your actual policy with your agent, I mean, usually they should come to me, and I would, because that's your natural choice to come to the Mickey Berry agency. But
course, right.
If you don't, then come to your agent, right? But we go over a lot of policies with people, and we just go over and say, hey, look, this looks good. Sometimes we go, that's a great policy. I wouldn't make a change, or I might tweak this or that. Mm-hmm. And then we might have an option that's comparable or less costly, and we sort of compare with them. But whether or not they switch to us or not, we're in the business of helping them see what they have and realize what they have before they have a claim.
Sure.
And so we do a lot of that with clients, and that may not be very apparent, that people may not know that you could do that with your agent. Just say, hey, I need to meet with you.
Yeah.
So that's something. But yeah, I would say weather and water claims are your two biggest that we have right now.
Yeah. Pretty seasonal here in Alabama, I'd say. Like summertime, where it just comes a huge downpour, and that's what raises some of the levels of our streams and lakes and rivers. And there must be a lot of variation, even city to city, within our huge metropolitan. So when people are getting quotes for home insurance, this is a big deal, and it seems to always happen when I'm working with buyers kind of after we're under contract, or like we're through inspection, and it's like, okay, well, it's time to call Mickey and get a quote for home insurance. Do you almost recommend in this market starting that process earlier in your buying process?
Sure. We I work with a lot of realtors and mortgage professionals, and what a lot of times what they'll do is they'll say, "We're going to look at these 4 houses today. Go ahead and call Mickey's office and get some just guesstimate rates, at least pretty close rates to what your homeowner's insurance is going to be, because obviously your homeowner's insurance is a factor in whether or not that loan can go through, whether or not that house is going to be affordable. Because if your taxes and insurance are high, then that's something that is tacked on to the amount of your house payment, right? So, so a lot of times it's a great idea just to give us a call, let us review that. We don't mind at all. I think one of your clients recently did that, just called and said, "Hey, here's a couple of houses. Can you just give me a ballpark figure?" So,
and you're able to turn that around pretty quick.
Oh yeah, sure. We can do that with no problem. I mean, just really a few minutes, an hour or two. And another thing that affects your rate is what their fire protection is, whether or not it is a rural home or in a city that's close to a fire department that that could service it. And so that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Hey, I want to be out of a subdivision. I hate homeowners associations like my wife and I do, but the further you move out in the country, the longer it usually takes for a first responder to get to you. Yeah. And so insurance companies can factor that in to whether or not it's going to be something that is affordable in your insurance.
What's the difference in, God forbid, your house catches fire and it's 10 minutes before the fire department shows up, or 25 or 30?
Right.
And
Exactly.
I mean, that makes sense. So how many factors are you looking at here? I mean, that's pretty, I wouldn't say obscure, but I mean, this must be a big list of things you look at when you're quoting for these things.
Yeah, and a lot of that is internal, kind of built into our black box of, we put stuff in and put the information in and it spits out this. But our rating factors, there's supposedly over 300 factors that we consider.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And a lot of that, some of that is the person, and some of it is the actual property. Mm-hmm. And another thing that makes a difference is what's going to happen there. What are we doing on that property? Is it going to be a primary residence where you and your family live? That's one risk. Is it going to be a rental property where maybe we're going to fix it up and rent it out? Well, then how long is it going to take us to fix it up? How extensive are the repairs going to be, and how long is that going to take? And then how long will the house be vacant before we have somebody in it? Mm-hmm. And maybe one more thing is, are we going to flip it, or are we going to just as soon as we get it repaired? I work with a lot of property real estate investors. So are we going to flip it, or are we going to? And so are we going to rent it out? And so there's a lot of things that we ask, and so all those things can make a difference. Obviously, your coverage and your price are usually going to be better on a home that somebody is living in that can watch it. Sure. And it would be more preferable that it's the owner of the house who's making the payments, who is who lives there. But we have every kind of possible policy. We do Airbnbs. We can do coastal exposures. We can do rental properties. I have secondary homes and lake properties. So we can do all of that. It's just a different set of specifics goes into rating each one.
Yeah, I mean, talking to you now, it makes total perfect sense. what are some myths or some things that you've been hearing lately that maybe are miscalculated? First thing is talk about the difference between homeowners insurance and a home warranty. Like, what are the differences there?
Sure. That's great. That's a great point. So, homeowners insurance is designed to cover larger, unexpected things that happen, weather, a liability claim, a theft claim, something that is something happens to your home or at your home that's a result of a specific set of causes. Wet homeowners, a home warranty is designed for these other things that are kind of an equipment breakdown or something just stops working. And so if my air conditioner, for instance, this happens a lot, my air conditioner went out, is that covered on my homeowner's insurance? Well, then I have to ask a couple more questions. Why did it go out? Was it struck by lightning? Was it, was it damaged in a fire, in a tornado? Did a tree fall on it, or did it just stop working? If it just stopped working, that kind of falls into the home warranty section. So a home warranty is a great thing to do, a great thing to have as a supplement to your home, to your homeowner's insurance, because a lot of things that are covered on home warranty are not covered on homeowner's insurance, and vice versa.
Yeah, and it's talking about people skimping on homeowners insurance. I mean, I know people that don't renew their home warranty, and I know, like, what do you tell people when it comes to this? When it comes to this insurance stuff, what do you tell people to make them understand? Like, it's important to insure what is most likely the largest and biggest asset of your life. What are you telling people?
Right. We kind of look at it is an extra expense, I guess, on top of the other things that you pay for on a monthly basis. But let's say it's $100 a month, or even $200 a month, right? Then that's a pretty small price to pay for if your $300,000 house blows away, or even your apartment blows away, right? We're gonna take care of you, and we're gonna end up on your home. We're gonna end up rebuilding your home. We're gonna end up giving you a place to stay. What would happen if all your stuff was gone today?
Yeah.
Tonight when you went home. What would happen if you had a fire? If you had a wind damage, and either all of your belongings, if you had to go through and actually, even if you're a minimalist, going through your home and kind of just calculating what it would cost to rebuy the things that, to replace the things that are there that mean something to you. I mean, from clothes to silverware to furniture to carpet to cabinets, everything, right? Mm-hmm. And so all those things are basically your contents coverage. And then what if we actually know somebody who's very wealthy, and until we met them, they didn't have insurance on their beach house. And he said, well, if my house is blown away in a tornado, I still have the lot. And I was like, yeah, but you spent a whole lot of money making this house. What if it was only this amount of money to cover it? And then so we actually did the self-insure with him. We gave him a higher deductible that he was comfortable with, and we would cover the rest if something happened. And he said, he later thanked us and said, that's probably makes a lot of sense. I never even thought about it, But most people aren't even in the financial realm to think, if my house is blown away, I'll be okay. Most people, it would be a devastating event.
Well, it's kind of like, you get a will to protect your assets for your descendants. I mean, to protect this huge of an asset in your life is also good for your future generations if you have kids or grandkids too, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And homeowners insurance actually they have a what if somebody were to get hurt on your property and decide to sue you? You know, we're in a fairly lawsuit frequent
Yeah.
location.
If you're doing a flip, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
right.
You'd want that.
Right. And so the contractors that are working on your home, they need to be insured. It doesn't need to be always, Uncle Jimmy, knows how to do change out a breaker box,
Yeah.
And so, so the insurance is a necessary evil. We have to have it, and we can work with a client to help them make it affordable. If you're in Florida, maybe not, but we can get there. The trend is Florida and California are good examples of this. The trend is to go towards more of a government-controlled or government-backed insurance program. Flood insurance is already in the National Flood Insurance Program, right? It's sold by agents like me, but the claims are actually backed and paid by the government. Same thing with earthquake insurance. And believe it or not, I have a dozen clients here that have earthquake insurance. They think that it's a plausible
there's more
risk.
elevation
Right.
here than you think. So
Right.
yeah, one wrong tumble.
Yeah. But like in Florida right now, a lot of people are having to go with a government-backed insurance program just because everybody else is saying that it's too expensive. They can't afford to do business there.
Well, when you say government, it makes me think nobody's safe. So for these people that do own their homes free and clear, are they going to be? Do you think they may be required to hold home insurance even though it's 100% theirs?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. And
so you got to call Mickey, because you're not going to have a choice anytime soon.
Yeah, it's government mandated that you must call me.
Yeah.
No, but I think that the coverages on homeowners insurance will begin to adapt and change. I don't think we'll get there as a government to rely on the government here in Alabama. I don't think we'll get there, but I do think that the industry will have to adapt in a little bit of some ways, because even in Alabama, companies aren't making money. They're not making a profit, so they can't do that forever.
Those greedy.
Those greedy insurance companies.
Yeah.
So they can't do that forever,
Right.
and because they'll just decide to do something else or do business somewhere else.
Well, adapting and changing to market conditions is what we do best. If there's someone out there that is considering a move to Alabama or lives in Alabama now and wants to get in touch with you just to see what their options are, how do they do that?
Sure. Love for them to give us a call, 205-490-6000. Find us on Facebook,
Just Google
LinkedIn,
best
anywhere.
insurance agent,
best
Birmingham,
insurance
Alabama.
agent ever. But we do have an experienced staff. We have people that would love to sit down with them and talk with them, and it's low pressure. We have sometimes a time-consuming hobby here of we find somebody the best rate. Mm-hmm. We find somebody not necessarily the best rate, but if we can't do it, we can't help them, then we're going to find them somebody that can. So we develop a network of other people that we don't necessarily get paid to refer to them, but we know that they can do certain things. And so while my company pretty much has a big appetite, probably a larger appetite for different types of risk than other companies do, we can still find there are still things come up that we're not a good fit for. So we say, look, we're going to refer you to this person, and eventually we want to we want you to come back to us, and just kind of developing that goodwill with them and doing something that we're not getting paid for in hopes that we're just we're doing the right thing, and later on it may come back to us.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about, man. Last question. The channel's called Living in Birmingham, Alabama. Like, what is you and Lynn, what is y'all's favorite thing about living here?
It's the people are amazing. The Birmingham is an absolute foodie town, and that's our hobby.
Yeah.
And so we have, we always tell people that are moving to Birmingham or visiting, okay, look, we got to give you the top 3 or the top 5 or whatever, right? And so that's our thing. I just did a food tour of the Pacific Northwest, and 2 months ago I basically ate my way through Palm Springs and San Diego, right? So Alabama is just a cool place to live. It's an affordable place to live. It's beautiful. People that have a preconceived notion of Alabama that is not good need to come here and look for themselves.
I agree.
And call Zac to help them with the home.
That's right. That's right. Well, Mickey, thanks so much, man. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'll put Mickey's contact information down in the description. We'll see you on the next one.